I define reinvention as the act of fundamentally transforming myself and my approach to life by letting go of deeply ingrained assumptions, beliefs, and constraints that no longer serve you. Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hey everyone. Hope you're doing well. I've been thinking about what I want to talk about today, and I have decided to talk about new starts. Are you all ready? It's the beginning of the new year, and it's the beginning of something new-ish for us. Well, the new-ish part is the end of something. It's so funny. I say that and then I'm thinking, how am I going to explain what's happening in my brain? The end of our travels is coming in a few weeks, and it's the beginning of the end of our travel. So it's so interesting because I haven't been thinking about going home since September. And so here we are, we're in New Zealand, which is amazing. You guys, if you're a hiker, and I'm not a great hiker, I enjoy hiking. I'm not hardcore. We're not doing multi-day hikes or staying overnight in huts, although I now have that on my bucket list to come back and do that, but we were not prepared for that this time. But anyway, we're here and it's blowing my mind. New Zealand is blowing my mind. It's so gorgeous. And right now we are in Dunedin. That's correct. Okay, that's the way to say it. And right now we're in Dunedin, which took me a while to pronounce that right. And I sure hope I'm pronouncing it right. I think it's Gaelic or Celtic. It's one of those for New Scotland. And it really feels and looks like Scotland here in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm no expert, so I'm sure someone from Scotland would say wrong, but it has this European flair to it in a way that the other cities in New Zealand don't have. And the scenery is just green as it all get out. And that reminds me of Scotland. I've been there once, but it just reminds me of it. And it's also reminding me of the Pacific Northwest to a degree as far as foliage and weather. It's summer here, and I was talking to my good friend who lives in the Pacific Northwest, and I was describing it, and I said, that's so interesting because this is cooler and wetter than I was thinking for summer. She said, well, it feels just like what summer looks like and feels like to us. And crazy enough, that's what it kind of feels like here. It feels like the Pacific Northwest, but it's in the Pacific Southeast. Is that what you would call it? I don't know. That's what I got for you today as far as where in the world is Andy and her family. We are going to be driving down to Queenstown and going to the Fjordland. I believe I'm saying that right. They have fjords here, doing some pretty amazing hikes, and I cannot wait. So I'm trying to get these podcasts ready for you before I go do that and go into the wilderness. That's what it feels like. So I hope you're doing well. I've been thinking about you a lot, and I've been thinking about new starts because of this new start to the end of our trip, but also the new start to the new year. And I want to talk about this opportunity we have with this brand new, gorgeous year ahead of us, and the past completely behind us, and the choice that we get to make when we have a new start. And if you're thinking, well, we're a couple weeks into January, why are we talking about new starts? The new year is clearly here. I like to think about my new year starts beginning in February because January is crazy and there's a lot of recovery from holidays, and my birthday's in February, the beginning of February too, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I would invite you to use February as your beginning to the new starts you want to have this year in 2025. And I also want to be clear that if you're listening to this and it's August and it's Thursday at 3:00 in the middle of August, you can have a new start whenever you want. We can create something new in the middle of the year, in the middle of the day, in the middle of the month, anytime. You have so much more control over your life and the parameters and the constraints than you probably allow yourself to think and believe. So I just want to start by saying that you get to create that structure. You get to create that new beginning. And that's what we're going to do today. We are going to create a new start from a place of feeling safe to start whenever we want so that we can feel secure. We create rules and parameters and constraints, limitations, boundaries, restrictions in our lives so that we can feel like we have some sense of where to go, when to go, how to go, all of those ideas, the routines, the rules, the expectations, they're just constructs that we've created because they've served us and they might continue to serve us or they might not. We have a set of norms that we've signed up for probably, most likely, unless you're One of the few that doesn't. What I found is most of us, without knowing it, we have these norms, these rules that we've signed up for without really questioning them. Think about how often we parent based on societal norms. Some of those look like kids need to go to bed by this time, maybe 8 p.m. That's what your mom told you. That's what your neighbor's kids do. Or homework needs to be done right when they get home. Or your kids need to sit very quietly at the dinner table. But what if those norms don't work for your family? Maybe your child thrives on a later bedtime. Or maybe they focus better on homework after they play. We get to question the structures that we've adopted automatically and create new starts, new routines, new ways of being that truly fit our family's needs. Doing something new, starting from fresh, isn't just about big sweeping changes either. It's about asking, does this work for me? Am I willing to rewrite the rules when the answer is no, it's not working for me? If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know I love questioning things that aren't working. Defaults, strategies. I question parenting, stuff all over the place when my kids were little. Do punishments really work? Do I really like timeouts? Is my reward store really helping? And there were answers that sometimes led to a resounding yes. I love early bedtime. I love that for me. I love that for my family. But there were also resounding no's. Punishments are not what I want to keep doing. So I'm all about keeping the ones that truly work for you, truly work for us. I'm all about keeping the ones that truly work for me, the ones that enhance my life, and then letting go of everything that doesn't. Why would we stick to a structure that doesn't serve you? I've been thinking a lot about reinvention lately. I started thinking about the difference between improvement and progress as we are getting to the month of December, because I was thinking about what do I want to create for myself, for my parenting, for my relationships, for my life this year. And I love progress. I love improvement, but I love this concept of reinvention. It's been just spinning in my head. Parenting, reinvention, you all. What is that? Oh my gosh. Yes. All yes, yes, yes for me. Reinvent myself, reinvent my relationship with my body, reinvent my relationship with learning. I know this sounds funny, but reinvent my relationship with math. I had this crazy experience in 4th grade where I got this idea that I couldn't do math very well. So I'm reinventing my relationship with that. I have had crazy driving experiences here in New Zealand. You know, they drive on the left-hand side of the road, which I thought would be a cinch for me to pick up. And it's been a struggle. I'm on the struggle bus with this. And I found my brain using that as evidence that I couldn't learn how to do it. And I saw that and I spent some 2 days loathing, just feeling sorry for myself and believing that story. And then it was clear as day. No, we're reinventing that. So what part of your life do you want to question and reinvent? And what part do you want to redecide? Yes, I'm all in on this. I love this decision that we've made. I love the way I parent this child. I love the way we're dealing with this situation that my child's going through. I love the way we're handling electronics. All in on that still. I don't like the way mornings are going, and we reinvent. So I have been so far out of my comfort zone on this trip that I feel as though I'm asking myself constantly, how do I want to show up for this thing? And do I want to reinvent myself? Or am I okay with how I'm responding right now? And this is what it looks like for us as parents all of the time. I've had this trip that just keeps bringing up life and parenting things everywhere, which has been the biggest blessing. I love it so much. And it's so self-confronting and hard as well. So I want to talk about it with you all because this is life. This is the juice. And I've really had to look at some things and ask myself, okay, are we staying with that or are we moving on? Are we doing something different? So what would that look like for me as a human and as a parent? I want you to ask yourself that. What would that look like for you as a human and as a parent? So I want to reinvent myself. And I define reinvention as the act of fundamentally transforming myself and my approach to life by letting go of deeply ingrained assumptions, beliefs, and constraints that no longer serve you. Sounds like a good summary of the podcast, right? I mean, it's kind of what Connect Method Parenting is all about, is transforming ourselves, letting go of things that don't serve us so that we can be the best version of ourselves. What if our kids could do any crazy thing and we just stayed cool? We stayed connected. We kept our prefrontal cortex on. We didn't go into fight or flight. That can be possible for us. My son flew over to be with us for the holidays, and It was so fun, by the way. So, so fun. And he was with us. We found this fantastic Airbnb on the beach for Christmas. It was so good. And one of my dear friends from high school, her daughter just happened to be in New Zealand, and she jumped in and was with us for Christmas. It was perfect. It was so good. She fit in perfectly. And then Jerem was here, which was amazing. Anyway, we're sitting on the couch and I say something. I don't even realize I say it because it's so unconscious. And I say something about some issue I'm having with tech or computer. We were all just chilling that day. Jerem was doing some work. He's learning how to do software development. So he was programming. My husband's a software developer as well. So they were talking shop and I was there doing something probably for you all. I don't remember, but I was doing something and I said, I don't know how to do this. I'm stuck. I feel like whatever. And I probably said the same thing about the similar problem many times because Jerem leans over to me and says, Mom, I'm not going to answer that for you. It's not serving you. You can figure this out. And then he told me, I've decided to never help someone do something that they can figure out themselves. And at first I was like, ouch, wow, that was bold. Love that for him, by the way. He's 25 and he is just living life so fully. I just love how he shows up for the world. And my husband, Scott, was like, wow, that was a good comment, Jer. He didn't even realize that he was enabling me to not figure this out for myself. And I realized for myself in that moment how I had gotten in this role of I don't know how to figure out certain tech things and I just ask other people to do them for me without even trying to problem solve. And don't get me wrong, I think asking for help is important. And when I'm getting coached by my coach or I'm coaching inside of League and we're doing, we're problem solving questions and people are saying, hey, I need help with this. I am all for that. And we need that. I need that every week. And getting that insight about something is so important. But then there's this place where we become like a victim to our old patterns. That's what this is about, is I was defining myself and as someone who couldn't figure out tech, wasn't good at tech, and it was just making my husband do everything for me in that arena. So I had fundamentally decided something about myself that I hadn't inspected. And as soon as Jerem brought it up, I thought, oh, that's so fascinating. And this is one of the things that coaching does. I mean, this wasn't specifically a coaching session, but in some ways it kind of was. He was saying, Mom, wake up. You probably don't see this, but let me give you another perspective, which is what we do in Connect Method Parenting when we talk and problem solve and brainstorm problems. We're saying, hey, let me give you this other perspective so that you can question yourself, so that you can see something you weren't seeing before, which is exactly what was happening. And I thought, I don't want to be that way anymore. I want to let go of those deeply ingrained beliefs and constraints that no longer serve me when it comes to tech. Thank you, Jerem, for calling me out. If you're listening to this, I just want to say thanks. That was so helpful. It was so good to see that so that I could say, no, I want to reinvent myself in this area. And I use that word intentionally instead of progress. You could say, well, you are progressing, but yes and no. I mean, I'm saying, what if I just show up completely different in this realm? So I've done a lot of conscious inspection over for the last decade plus, but especially been deep diving in on it the last few months as I'm thinking about 2025, as we've been on this crazy international road trip, so to speak. I've been looking at my limiting beliefs. They've been so apparent to me, my limiting beliefs, my things that aren't serving me anymore, the parts of my nervous system that are underdeveloped. And it's been so good. So good. I've mentioned before on the podcast my struggles with learning how to drive on the left side of the road here in New Zealand. I can do it. It's not comfortable, but I can do it. But the second time I tried to do it ever, we were in the mountains. The roads were curvy and they do not believe in shoulders here. Not at all. I think really the reality is the roads, because of a lot of times the way the landscape is, there's just not a lot of space for the roads. So they're just the tiniest little roads ever, which was something that's very different than the roads in the United States. So it was raining. I could not get my car centered in a way that made me feel comfortable. I eventually pulled over and just said, okay, Scott, you need to drive. And I made that mean a lot of things about myself for a while. Like, what if this is what happens when you're in your 40s and your brain stops working? Because my 25-year-old son had been driving us around these crazy roads for days and he was doing just fine. And he'd only been driving for, less than a decade. I mean, he'd been driving for a while, but it was not that long. I've been driving for 31 years, and I was nervous to drive a car now. What? So I had to look at this and I realized, oh, this is what society has told me. They've said when you get old, you have a hard time learning. You can't make mistakes. And I had to look at this and I realized, oh, this is just my story that I've inherited from society, that when you get older, it's harder to learn. Another story was when you make a mistake, it means if you're a failure, which I know is not true, but that's what popped up. Or you compare yourself to other people and decide your value. That's another societal story that a lot of us have inherited. And I had this whole list of stories I had inherited that was making this whole driving experience. And then not the tech as much. I didn't make that didn't spiral me. That was really just awakening in the moment. I just instantly saw it. But with the driving, I got a little stuck in my drama story and I cried for hours that night. I let myself cry. I could see it. It's so interesting. I could see myself. The more you consciously create, the more you watch yourself from a conscious place, which is one of the best skills we can do as a connect method parent, is we see both sides. I call it mixed emotions, where I could see from this really loving place, this really loving part of me, oh, you're stuck in some drama. You're stuck in some stories that aren't serving you. But then I had the part of me that was the toddler saying, no, this is how life is. This is the stories. This is what's happening. You don't understand. I'm not going to learn how to do anything new for the rest of my life. And I was observing myself from this higher place of, you got this. It's okay. You can be sad about it. Coming alongside my own emotional experience and allowing myself to cry for hours. So I was crying, knowing that these tears were letting out the foul frustration and that I needed to let it out. And I needed to let it just move through me and not make it mean anything. Really, it was not make it mean anything that my part of me wanted to make it mean something. So it negated it. It's really cool. We talk about it all of the time inside of League. Anyway, I got up the next morning and it was clear as day. The drama and the story, I was so conscious of it. And I could also see what had led up to it. There were a couple of things. I hadn't been exercising. I hadn't been taking time to do my morning grounding work, which includes reading inspiring things and meditating and praying and just being quiet and still. I hadn't done any of that. I hadn't been doing my peace work. I hadn't gone on my walk. I hadn't been listening to my inspirational books. So of course my brain was freaking out because I had missed my mental gym experience for about a week because we'd been moving so quickly with Jerem in town for just a couple of weeks. We'd been moving through New Zealand at a very quick pace. And so I could see what had happened. So I got up the next morning and I said, there is no reason why I can't have a routine. Even though nothing about my life is full of routine, nothing is normal right now. What if I could be the person, I could reinvent myself and be the person that has a routine even when there's no familiar structure to my life? Can I get up early enough and exercise and have my quiet time and read and all of the things, do my peace work? And I did that day. I listened to a book while I went on a walk. I meditated, did peace work. I exercised. I did a little Pilates video on YouTube. It felt amazing. And I was right back into reinvention mode, questioning my thoughts, breaking down false structures, looking at unrealistic expectations, looking at my limiting belief. And I moved through that icky stuckness that I'd been feeling for the last, it was probably 2 days, really. I decided what I wanted to believe instead. I rewrote my rules about me and who I was and what it means to mess up driving on the wrong side of the road. And to be fair, I've abbreviated this story. There were many things that had led up to me feeling very inadequate. And it all hit ahead when I was driving. Just felt as if I had unrelenting evidence that it was true. And I had to go through my process, you all. I had to go through my process so that I could create a new beginning. Because you know what? I am so happy it happened because it was the perfect setup for this new year. It brought all of the things I wanted to look at front and center, and I was able to see what I really wanted. I was able to look at this process of reinvention with even more clarity and determine that this year is about reinvention for me. One of the most empowering things to realize is that you have the right, the ability, and the privilege to change your mind about anything at any time and for any reason. I'm talking about this when I'm teaching and helping moms implement in League all the time. Whether they're in the pivot or they're in CMP mastery, this is so important to remember. We've been taught so many things about emotions, about our child's behavior, about our behavior. But you know what? You can change your mind about what you want to believe about tantrums or teenage attitudes or the messy house, and then what you want to do to help your children process their emotions, to navigate whatever's causing that attitude or causing that behavior. And that's something you can start anytime. You can start reinventing yourself. You can start reinventing your opinion of things at any time. And this changes everything. I know there's some times where as parents, we want to just hear the tactics. Just tell me what to do when my kids fight. Just give me the steps, 1, 2, 3. I can't do that because that's not how it works. It doesn't get to the root of what's going on, which is both what's going on for your child and what's going on for you, and what's going on for you as a relationship. And what I have found is this process of reinventing, of new beginnings, that changes the way we interpret our life, the way we interpret our kids' behavior, which changes our emotional experience of it, which changes our actions of it. And yet, in the Connect Method parenting framework, we have very specific and strategic ways that we interact with kids, and we're informed from a psychology point of view of what's appropriate. And all of that is really, really important to put in the action line. But none of it matters if we don't come at it in a place that's compassionate and understanding and curious. So we've got to continue to reinvent ourselves. We can redecide what we think about anything, about bedtime, about a particular child, or the tantrums. You can recommit to the life you want, and you can let go of anything that no longer serves you. And as you move forward, I want to invite you to join me on this little journey of redeciding, a chance to press reset on your life, recommit to the things you truly desire, and then release all the things that no longer fit. One of the ways I keep my life fresh and full of growth is by embracing the power to redecide. I don't let myself stay stagnant. That's my goal, to not let myself stay stagnant. Don't cling to expectations that don't serve me anymore. Don't fall into the trap of people pleasing. Now, I'm not saying I do this perfect, but I'm constantly trying to be on the lookout for where am I stagnant? Where am I stuck to outdated expectations that aren't serving me? Where am I people pleasing? And I keep the energy flowing like fresh water in a stream by continually evaluating and trying my very best to evolve. So I'm going to take a moment to look at your life, to look at your relationship with your kids, to look at the results you're creating, to look at maybe the things that feel stuck. What are the things you've stopped actively appreciating? Yes, I said appreciating. Actively appreciating what you have. What are the things you've stopped actively appreciating that you have? And this might look like taking for granted the small, beautiful moments with your kids, like reading to them at bedtime, hearing them laugh, or having them seek your advice. These moments were once cherished dreams, but the busyness of life oftentimes get them to go into the background. So redeciding doesn't mean discarding those things. It means actively choosing them again. It's about reminding yourself why you wanted them in the first place and now finding gratitude and appreciation to have them now. And at the same time, redeciding does give you permission to let go of things that don't align with you anymore. Maybe it's a habit, a routine, a belief of what kind of parent you should be. For example, if you've been trying to live up to some unrealistic standard of perfection in parenting, you can let that go right now. You can let it go. And you can redecide to embrace a more connected, authentic approach that allows you to leave space for that mess up. When you mess up with your kids, you say something you regret, you leave space for it. You repair it. Redeciding isn't about throwing everything away and starting over. It's about taking a thoughtful inventory of your life. It's about asking yourself, what do I want to recommit to? What no longer serves me? Where can I refresh my perspective and find new energy? Because you're not stuck. You might feel stuck, but we're not really stuck because we always have the power to redecide, to create the life we really want. I want you to embrace this. I want you to think about this because the more we redecide, the more we grow and the more vibrant our lives become. What if you looked at the relationship you had with every single one of your kids? You set it aside for a moment and you blank slated it. And then you came back and you redecided intentionally what each of those relationships were going to look like, were going to feel like, what you're going to think about them. And I would do it, what you're going to think about them at their worst and what you're going to think about them at their best. And how you're never going to be fooled that their bad behavior means anything other than they're struggling. The power of redeciding is so full of intentionality. It's not about defaulting to what's familiar. It's about consciously choosing the people, the connections, the actions that align with our values so that we can create the life we want. So what do we want to spend more time doing? What do we need to let go of? How can we show up differently for the relationships that mean the most to us? When you make these decisions thoughtfully, you can invite clarity, you can invite growth, you can invite deeper connection into your life because redeciding isn't just about the people in your life. It's also about you. So yeah, it's about the external people, but it's also about the internal person, you. Redecide how you want to be with yourself, what you want to think about yourself. You can reinvent that today. In 2021, we sold our fairly large home in Phoenix, along with everything we owned, and moved to an 830 square foot cabin in the woods. We wanted to live in a different way, so we did it. We reinvented our life. We had to constrain what we brought, basically only brought clothes, and even those we had to cut back on. We decided we weren't going to get a storage unit, so it was, so the criteria was it either fits in the cabin or it has to go. So we gave away everything. But the saddest thing I gave away, or sold some of them, but also gave away, were my books. I had probably 10 bookshelves full of books that I'd collected over the decade and a half I'd been homeschooling, and I kept a few, but I really let go of a lot. And this was a huge reinvention moment for our family. A huge reinvention moment. It was incredibly revealing. But you don't have to sell everything you own to have a reinvention experience. It can start really, really small. Just look at little things like, are those the socks I want to have in my drawer? Are those the shoes I want to wear every day? Is this the mug I want to reach for every morning? Even these small decisions can say a lot about how you're choosing to live. By intentionally redeciding, even on those micro level choices, you can align your actions, your environment, and your habits with the person you're reinventing yourself to become. And as a parent, this process is especially impactful. What are the essential things you're going to decide to do and not do to create the environment you want in your home? What values are you committing to that align with your parenting vision? What behaviors are you modeling so that your kids are seeing what's possible for them so they can know how to consciously design their own lives? Every choice we make becomes an opportunity to show them how to live. I love the quote, if someone's going to be unhappy about your life, it shouldn't be you. And so many of us go through life feeling unhappy, not because we're living a life we don't want, but because we're afraid of disappointing others. We're prioritizing making other people happy, which often leads us to sacrificing our own happiness. But here's what I believe. We are meant to be happy about our life. Life's meant to be a balance, 50% joy and thriving and you're just killing it, and then 50% challenge and growth. But when you allow yourself to embrace that up and down, that unpredictable experience you're truly living, you see that the challenge and growth is just as good as the joy and thriving. But when you stay stuck in stagnation, you're afraid of maybe this goal you have, or you're nervous about having more patience with your kids because you think they might run all over you, and you're not sure how to hold that firm, compassionate alpha, but also be kind and loving and understanding. That's staying stuck in stagnation instead of saying, I'm going to make choices for me and my kids that serve us, even if it makes me uncomfortable or it makes other people uncomfortable. The more you honor what's in your heart and let go of the fear, or you at least notice the fear, but don't let it stop you, the more you get to live a life that feels authentic and vibrant and full of purpose. And maybe even a little scary, maybe even a little uncomfortable, probably a lot uncomfortable, because you're pushing yourself. You're not staying in the comfortable. You're moving towards growth. But at the end of the day, gonna feel so, so good. So ask yourself, what is it that I need to let go of starting today? What is it? Is there a grudge? Is there anger? Is there perception? Is there guilt that you're carrying about something? This is your moment to say, I'm done. You don't have to fight for your limitations anymore. You don't have to tell yourself it's too hard to let go. You can simply decide, I'm not going to stay stuck in this pattern of reacting to my children with frustration. I'm no longer going to hold on to that anger towards myself or someone else. I'm not going to be a perfectionist, or at least I'm not going to believe my story that perfectionism is good anymore. I'm going to notice every time I drop into that. I'm going to let go of that story that says I can't change or learn. And for me, that was one of the big ones with the driving situation. You all, today is a fresh opportunity to start, to let go of what's not serving you, to create space for what you truly want in your life. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or pretending something didn't happen. It means choosing not to let it define you anymore. So I clearly did not do well driving in that rainy weather on that narrow mountain road. I'm not pretending that didn't happen. I'm just choosing not to let it define me as something negative. I'm actually choosing to let it define me, or rather move me towards more growth. You all, the power to change often comes in a single moment with a single decision, whether it's a habit or a thought or an emotion. We can all decide today, like right now, to let go of it. Not gradually, not someday, but right now. So what's the one thing you're ready to release from your life? This is your moment to claim it. It's about taking one bold step toward the person you want to be, reinventing yourself. And as you step into this new year, keep stepping, right? We're already in it. Keep stepping into this new year, or any decision to make a fresh start. Remember this, don't choose failure. Don't choose defining yourself as someone who's not able to do something. It doesn't serve you. We're all going to have failures along the way. Our kids are going to have off-track behavior too. If we can just embrace it as part of the process, we can learn from it. We can try not to repeat the same mistake over and over again. Instead, we can just dissect it. We can explore it. We can grow from it. And we can be kind to ourselves throughout the entire thing. Keep moving forward. That is where we want to land. 2025 is going to be the best year of my life. I've already decided that. And I'm going to do the work to prove that it's true. And the hike I'm going to do with my family this afternoon, the driving on the left-hand side of the road that I'm going to do later this week, the chilling, the catching up, we're probably going to play Skull King this afternoon, the relationships I get to have with my teenagers who are all about, they're all mine right now. That's pretty darn incredible because I know in a few weeks when we get back home, they're going to be busy with school and friends and work and all sorts of things. So that's what I get today. I'm so excited. It's the best year of my life, and it's going to continue to be the best year of my life. And the same is true for you. Having the best year of your life doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. You're going to still experience that 50-50 balance of life, the good and the challenging. But you know what? That's part of what makes life so meaningful. So here's to us, friends. Let's embrace this year with everything. We've got everything. Let's learn as much as we can. Let's grow. Let's grow as much as we can. How about that? Let's evolve as much as we can. Let's live fully. Love deeply. I love that. Love deeply. Connect profoundly with your kids. Keep moving toward the life that you want to have. Reinvent yourself this year. Cheers to an incredible year ahead. We're just getting started. It's only going to get better. Let's go full in. Let's go full in. And if we fail flat on our faces, that means we are living. And then let's see what happens. How much growth can come from a big failure? A lot. We try something and it doesn't work with our kids. We try to connect with that teenager and they, give us the cold shoulder. Go all in. That's how we learn. All right, that's what I have for you today. I cannot wait to hear about your year this year. If you are in league, let's talk about this. That's what we're focusing on the entire month of January, setting us up to have the best year yet. We're doing the best year yet workshop series in there. And if you've been thinking about joining, we will be opening soon. So check the website and we'll let you know when we open again. It'll be probably next month, February. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast and could leave a review, I would love that. That would be so fantastic. It helps get the word out, and then subscribe if you haven't so you get notified the next time I drop an episode. And don't forget, go connect with your kids, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, come check out League, my Connect Method parenting coaching program, where we take this material and we apply it using my proven formula. Head over to cmp.works/join.